Thank you. I'll be here all week. All right. I would like to make a motion to open the general business meeting of the Jamestown School Committee. It is 6:18 p.m. Sorry, we are a little bit behind schedule. Can I get a second? Great. And Allison, would you like us to vote by name so that we can do roll call for the open meeting? Okay. Christine LaPierre, aye.
Christian Cowan, aye.
Drew Alsop, aye.
Josh Furtado, aye.
Great. Given that we have already gotten through number 5 on our agenda, I am going to ask Councilman Brine if he will come to the podium. I believe he has a town council proclamation to share with us.
Thank you very much. I am happy to be here and honored to read the proclamation of the town council for April, the month of the military child. It's proclamation number 2026-09. Whereas since 1986, the Department of Defense has recognized military children during the month of April because of their service, commitment, and sacrifice to support our nation's armed forces. It is important to honor and celebrate our military's youngest heroes. And whereas the month of the military child is an opportunity to remember children's role in strengthening the military family. This year's theme is Military Children and Youth, Strength in Every Story. And whereas living in different states, countries, and continents, military children face unique challenges that most youth their age do not experience. They are equipped to adapt to present and future changes, such as permanent changes of station, deployments, reintegration, care of the wounded warrior parents, or coping with the loss of a fallen parent. Through each new step in life, they always remain ready and resilient. And whereas we, the leaders of the town of Jamestown, along with the Jamestown School Committee, are thankful for the positivity and enthusiasm of military children as we keep moving forward. We are committed to maintaining excellence in schools, youth services, and childcare to ensure that families always receive the best programming, no matter where their next adventure may take them. Now, therefore, the Town Council of the Town of Jamestown, Rhode Island, does hereby proclaim that April 2026 is the month of the military child and encourages the residents of our town to observe the month with appropriate ceremonies and activities in Jamestown and at the Jamestown schools that honor, support, and thank our military children. By order of the Jamestown Council. Thank you very much. And you guys always the school always puts on great programming to support military children and recognize April as the month of the military child every year. So I appreciate it. Honored to be here with you guys. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilman Brine. That brings us to item number 7 on the agenda, which is public forum. If there are any members of the public who would like to address the council.
Good evening. My name is Susan Rose and I live at 25 Spanker Street here in Jamestown. And I did speak a few weeks ago regarding an additional 3rd classroom for the incoming 5th graders next year. Now we know that the smaller class sizes benefit children in the classroom academically, socially, emotionally, so on and so forth. And you know, many of us have already covered all of that. What we don't know is how many students we'll have next year. And as Mr. Edmonds had shared, you know, unfortunately, we don't have a crystal ball, but we do have the numbers from the previous 5 years. And to me, it makes sense to kind of work with what we have. So beginning in kindergarten, we had 42 students, followed by 43, 45, 46. And this year, currently, in 4th grade, we have 47 students. The numbers are trending upwards and will likely continue to do so. The likelihood of the numbers decreasing and the probability of an immediate decline is low unless there were external factors, for example, like a new school opening up close by. So, you know, I just hope that this information helps with your decision and that you choose to add an extra classroom for the incoming 5th graders for next year. And I do have some additional information that just might be helpful. As far as the military students, ago, the numbers, in kindergarten, there were 6, first grade, there were 6, second grade, there were 5, third grade, there were 6, and this year in fourth grade, they have 7. So still, again, kind of trending upwards. So that's all I have. Thanks.
Thank you, Susan. And just as a reminder, that we are not allowed to respond to anything that you say, so we can't like really engage in dialogue. But thank you for your comments. We will definitely look into those.
Thank you.
Hi, Jen Frechette, 132 Beach Ave. I did not prepare anything tonight, so you're welcome. I just wanted to say that I think that lots of moms and parents and fathers and caregivers have been going around continuously sharing their sentiments that we all agree that the 3 classrooms would be beneficial, or the ones that have communicated that together. And I think have asked that those who could be here tonight are here representing those parents who could not be, to share that we are in agreement. I would say at least 20 to 30 parents who have shared through emails, and I know have written letters to say that we are in the hopes that we would have the 3 classrooms to support this transition to the middle school this next year. That's all I have to share. Thank you.
Thank you, Jen.
Hello, my name is Vanessa. I live at 1 Umiak Ave. I did send an email just as a heads up that this was on my mind a couple of weeks ago, but I would like to, well, we can't discuss, but discuss expanding the 3K and I guess perhaps 4K eventually program. My concerns are twofold. One, it seems to be that there's a lottery if there's more children than spots, but it's unclear how the lottery is executed and if it is in fact a lottery or if it is a ranked selection process. And then anyone who's not in these like buckets of military or something are the lottery subjects. And of the lottery, there are 7 kids, including my son, waitlisted for this year for the 3-year-old program. So that's about half of an additional classroom. I don't know if there's like an aide we can bring in to help and they're all in the same room. I don't know. But also I want to make it clear that this is to me like maybe there's like a bigger disconnect. From what I understand, there's 3 kindergarten classrooms. So to have just 1 preschool group maybe seems, like there's a big gap there between how many students need the public school. I don't know what else to say. I like you, girl. I didn't prepare anything, but that's what I'm here for. Thank you.
Thank you, Vanessa. Thank you all for coming out and for advocating for what's best for children. Prior to our open meeting, we did have a joint meeting with the town council, with 2 town council members and 2 school committee members who also have rising 5th graders. We do continue to have conversations about this. And Vanessa, thank you for coming out and speaking on behalf of this. And we will definitely follow up with you.
And I'd just like to add a comment too to validate. So first of all, thank you very much for coming out. It's easier things to do than being out at 6:30 on a school night, hanging out with us. But just to also validate that, yes, we have in fact heard from dozens of families about the 5th grade cohort and the wish for a 3rd grade teacher. I have heard 0 commentary from the public supporting keeping the 2 classrooms. I've only heard feedback for adding a 3rd teacher. So I just wanted to acknowledge that that's true. And David, to make sure that from our vantage point, are hearing that loudly.
And that brings us on to item number 8, which is the consent agenda, which is the approval of our minutes from March 12th and the payments of bills for March 18th.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Thank you, Chris. Do I have a second? Thank you, Lisa. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the consent agenda carries. And that brings us to reports, and we start with the superintendent report.
Sure. Thank you. Can you guys hear me okay? Okay, so we'll start with our enrollment. And the only change was we had at Melrose, there was no change at Lawn at all. But at Melrose, we lost a kindergarten student to an out of district. And in the fourth grade, one of our military students moved. So Melrose is down 2 students, and which means overall we are at 390, which is 2 less than we have been the past 3 months. Okay, so that's the enrollment. Any questions about that? Okay. All right. We move on. Everybody okay? All right. So I want to share some district updates with you. We've got lots of good stuff going on. I can't get everything in here, but I will share some highlights. And first and foremost is as you know, it was discussed at the joint town council meeting as well as the members of our public here. I know that there have been lots of conversation, and so I'd just like to, in the spirit of transparency and respecting the voice of our parents, just like to share some things. So as part of our standard planning process, we include contingency funding in the budget year to allow for an additional classroom if it's kind of cuspy. So if it's just like we're talking about with the incoming fifth graders, so we allow for that. But it's I don't want to mislead anybody in thinking that because some folks have said, well, the funding's already there, which it's really not. There is a contingency there, but it's really for whatever classroom that we may need in June. But by the time we get to June and we're able to look at everything, right? Okay. But while those resources are available, we want to ensure that any decision to add a third, fifth grade classroom is guided by confirmed enrollment data rather than projections alone. Again, just you saw we lost a military student just last month. So it fluctuates. It could change, right? We are actively monitoring enrollment projections for the 26-27 school year with particular attention to the incoming fifth grade class. I have regular conversations with Mr. Edmonds about that. To help inform our planning, we recently reached out to our military families to get a better understanding of how many of those students that we anticipate returning next year. Again, collecting data, trying to be proactive about that. On multiple occasions, Mr. Edmonds and I have visited the current fourth grade classroom to gather anecdotal insights to complement the quantitative data that we are collecting. Again, I mentioned this at the joint council. I think it's important to say it again. Jamestown Schools has always been deeply student-centered, and we are committed to always doing what is best for our students. And if enrollment remains at or above the current levels, we will not hesitate to move forward with adding an additional classroom to best support our learners. But again, that decision probably won't come until June. Okay. And again, last year we went through a similar situation with kindergarten classroom where numbers that looked like again cuspy, didn't want to make a decision one way or the other. As numbers continued to grow, we made that decision and we added that third classroom. So again, I just ask for patience and trust from our families as we work through this process. So any questions that you guys have, and I know and I appreciate the school committee saying that you guys are approving the budget and you're going to leave the programming up to the administration. And that is what we're doing. And again, it's not like we are not following through with what we said a couple of months ago, or we are monitoring the data.
If we do wait until June, let me just ask, I think we talked about this briefly last time. I just want to make sure I'm clear. Would the third classroom teacher, the hypothetical, maybe add third classroom teacher in the fifth grade? Do we know yet if that would be an internal hire? Or is that still up in the air? I guess the reason I ask is it seems the longer we wait, the harder it is maybe to get the ideal candidate.
We have a teacher returning from a leave of absence.
Okay.
So that is a possibility. Again, there's lots of moving parts that we just don't want to commit ourselves right now. Okay. All right. Any other questions about that? Josh?
At this point in the year, do we have any data on typically how many military families we might lose going into the next year?
We sent out a survey.
But I'm asking for historically, is there any kind of reference point that?
I don't have any historical data on that. No, I just, again, trying to collect data, talk with Jeanette last week, and just looking at what are some ways that we can kind of get an idea. I mean, we can certainly look.
Okay. I mean, it just feels like at this point, the likelihood of, how many we're going to lose versus still like what the net on the military families is going to be. I'm very curious, because even if that's, a net +2 or -2 in any direction, we're still at a number that at this point, historically, is far above where we've been to require 3 classrooms. So, and I know it's based on need, but I mean, at this point, we've heard from a lot of people, and there's a lot of support for, getting to that point where we add that
Okay.
class,
So is there a question in there? Okay. All right. All I can tell you is that we have not wavered on what we said we were going to do. We said we were going to monitor the enrollment data, and we are doing that. And we're even going above and beyond by reaching out to military families to see what their plans are if we don't already know that. Again, above and beyond, Mr. Edmonds and I going into classrooms and looking at what instruction and learning looks like with 3 different classrooms, and talking about what does that look like if it's down to 2. Again, we will do what's in the best interest of kids. We will do what's in the best interest of kids. I cannot make that any clearer. All right.
The only one other comment that I would make is I know that a lot of parents have been coming to the meetings to be able to have some engagement with Mr. Edmonds as well. So that might be helpful if he's willing to.
Mr. Edmonds is, but Mr. Edmonds, there's a dance tonight at Lawn, which has been on the calendar for a while. And so Mr. Edmonds is chaperoning that dance. So he's, otherwise he would have been here.
Okay. Just something if you want to pass that.
He is aware. All right. Anything else along the lines of 5th grade? Okay. All right. In terms of the strategic plan, a draft version of that plan was shared with each school's SIT for feedback. The draft was sent to members of the Strategic Planning Committee, and I will be sharing that draft with teachers tomorrow during PD Day. It is still in draft form, but we're getting very close to getting it finalized. During our leadership team meeting in April 2nd, Kirsten LaCroix will be meeting with our leadership team, getting final feedback on that. So we hope to have that finalized after that. All right. Something that I'm so excited about is an update on AI. Our Fuse AI that we're working with Throughline Learning. So along with other Newport County AI Fellows, the Jamestown AI Fellows and I participated in a Zoom session with Throughline Learning on March 19th. Because of the blizzard, this was their first meeting. Professional learning scope and sequence it's from consumer to designer. Includes Explore AI plus educational context and tools, build custom AI tools, design tools aligned to teaching and learning goals, and empower students as critical consumers and designers. And I included in your packet what that curriculum looks like. And I've asked the fellows that once they've had a couple of meetings under the belt, if they would be interested to come and share their learning with you. Also, as part of the Fuse AI work is to assemble an AI task force that represents a diverse group of stakeholders There will be a letter coming out in the Howl, and I've also sent an email to teachers requesting that they encourage students to be a part of that as well. So those are my district updates.
Thanks, David. And just before we move on to the committee reports, I guess I would like to just speak to the request very quickly that came during public comment about preschool selection. I honestly admit I haven't looked at the procedures that she had asked about in a while.
Totally
It-
random.
In our next meeting, maybe we could just get that update so we're all in the loop on.
It's a random process. There's
Not on the agenda tonight, so I don't want to go there now, but I think in our next meeting, it would be great to have an update. I can email you the questions too that I have about it, make sure we're.
I would appreciate that. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, that brings us to the school committee reports. So starting with CLAC. Thank you. Melrose Sit.
Melrose Sit last met on March 12th, meeting again on April 9th. Last meeting was interesting. We actually met in the new STEM lab downstairs. We toured the math lab and a few other student spaces that were really interesting. So that was great to see, and then focused the majority of the time reviewing and discussing the first draft of the district's. Overall, great meeting.
Great, thank you. And just while we were having our meeting, just to add to the Melrose update, I did get confirmation from Miss Roman that the second grade play is that evening, but she's going to move the time up to start at 5 p.m. So correct. It's
Thank you
usually a
for
half
doing
an
that.
hour.
So it won't overlap with the facility committee.
will
meeting at
not.
The library at 6:30.
Correct, which I'm sure you're going to talk about in the facilities update. But yes, so maybe if we can like encourage all the Melrose families to come to the library when they're done, that'd be great. Lawn Sit Committee.
Student clubs called, I think it's called Community Connections. It's facilitated by Colleen McIntyre. They presented on a project they've been working on to see if installing a payphone somewhere in town would make it less likely that kids would cell phone penetrate the page. They surveyed parents and they've done research. They talked to Ed Mello, they talked to the library. They did a great presentation, so they're working on getting that done. I think it's amazing. Turns out there's no payphones anymore, but the library could do like a Wi-Fi public phone, something like that. So,
That's cool.
And then beyond that, we looked at the strategic plan draft and gave feedback and talked about some upcoming events. And then we meet again on May 21st.
Great, thank you. North Kingstown.
There've been 2 meetings since the last update. The school committee met on the 3rd and the 17th of March. Next meeting, the business meeting will be on the 31st. So it was a busy month. Few highlights. In the last meeting on the 17th, there was an interesting presentation talking about the expanded academic opportunities, obviously specifically for all high school students, but obviously available to Jamestown, which in relation to the expanded access to college level coursework, specifically AP, dual enrollment, and concurrent enrollment. So for any of those students that were interested in, trying to achieve some college credit during their high school time. And I know that they did mention that there have been some representatives from the high school actually in the middle school. So NK's being pretty active to introduce the programming to the middle school levels. And I think they were here in January, maybe. To the 8th graders, and I think they're actually planning to expand that to like 6th and 7th to introduce the programming at an earlier age, so everyone's aware of that. So I thought that was good. A lot of talk on the AP programming more generally as well. Just some of the impacts, who's participating, some of the outcomes. So it was a good conversation around that. The high school roof project is moving forward and is still on track for summer construction. It's trending on budget, which is good, and hopefully will result in minimal disruption for the school year. It should be done before the beginning of next term in the fall. So, and there were only a quick note. There were the district's trying to minimize disruption from the blizzard with some calendar tweaks. Like I think tomorrow there is a small change to that was supposed to be a PD day, and there's maybe some changes there. But so minimal disruption from a calendar standpoint. I think they have some days built in where they can kind of work around things. So, but yeah, other than that, next meeting is the 31st.
Great, thank you. Facilities.
Okay, so our facility committee met as a large group 2 weeks ago now, along with the architect and design team that's now working on the plan. The first announcement we already made once tonight, but just really want to make sure that we mark our calendars for April 14th at 6 p.m. at the library. We're hosting our first community event to kick off our master facility plan. We really do want as many folks from the community to come as who can, to meet the team that's doing the design work and helping us with the report, to hear about the purpose of the report and the overall sort of timetable and plan to get that report done. That's kind of the big, that's the big news with regard to our master facility plan that we've been working on and talking about now for some time. David, I don't know, do we have any other facility updates that you want to share tonight about things happening in our building right now? I actually haven't, I've been so focused on the plan that we haven't talked about any kind of current goings on. There might not be any, that's okay. Yeah, okay. And if anybody has any questions on the committee or out there, please don't hesitate to reach out. Our next facility committee meeting keeps changing on the schedule, but I believe we have an internal Zoom on April 1st, right? To talk about the next steps in the plan evolution and to get ready for that April 14th meeting.
Give me just a second here. Yes, that's correct.
Yep. Thank you.
That's a Zoom meeting. Yes, 1 o'clock.
Can I just ask, Drew, how are we publicizing that event?
It's a great question. So we have a press release that we just finished today. We have a bunch of very colorful flyers that we're going to post around town, including at some of the heavy traffic areas like McQuaid's, where we have typically post things, and at town hall as well. I will email you all the PDFs and maybe even get some hard copies made if you'd like some of those flyers to help publicize. And then we'll use any, to be up on the district website as well. At a certain point, we are going to have a website specific to this plan and begin to use some social media, although I think we're trying to figure out how far along we are there. And also, we've talked about things like Facebook pages and other things that aren't kind of our official media, but might also help get the word out. And we're still kind of figuring out how best to do that. So again, trying to reach all corners.
Thank you. That brings us to policy. Policy, we are going to discuss the McKinney-Vento policy under new business. We have not met since February 12th, but we are meeting next Thursday. And on that meeting agenda, we are going to review the wellness policy for some updated language that needs to get put in there. We're going to continue our ongoing conversation about the social media policy, and we're going to talk more about the acceptable use and AI policy. So more coming from us later this month. Wellness?
Wellness has not met since, I think it was November, so we're waiting for a second meeting of the year. I'll let you know when it is scheduled.
Thank you. And legislative.
And legislative, there was a meeting that I was out of town for work on. David, do you want to?
Yes, so Alex Dinkelman, and I'll say her name wrong.
Dawn,
Dawn.
you're
I want
right.
to say Ewer, but I know it's not how to pronounce it. But
Boyer.
yeah, and Eric and I met with those two, and basically because they're so early in their legislative session, there really wasn't a lot to talk about. But some of those same educational bills that probably you guys may get those shared with you through RIASC, I'm not sure, but we just kind of looked through those to see which ones might have implications in Jamestown. So there really wasn't anything that was glaring. So I apologize. Well, no, I think the next meeting's in May. It may, I'm not sure. It's the Thursday during Teacher Appreciation Week. I know that.
Great, thank you. And that brings us to new business. And so up first, we have the second reading of the McKinney-Vento policy. That is in our packet for everyone. And the policy is really just codifying practices that already exist here at the district. We were getting ready to do our audit from RIDE, and that's when we discovered that we needed to have a formalized policy and did not. So all this policy is doing is really just codifying the rights and detailing how we go about educating those students who are Jamestown school students and who are unhoused.
I would like to make a motion to approve this McKinney-Vento students experiencing homelessness policy.
Thank you, Drew. Can I get a second? Thank you, Lisa. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so that policy carries. And then our last item of new business is the Jamestown School Department 26-27 school calendar. And I know at our last meeting, we didn't take a vote on it because we wanted to allow some time to have people, families in particular, reach out. I did share with Superintendent Raleigh that I did hear from one parent who saw the article in the paper and wanted to bring something to light about starting school on August 31st. And this family basically is a military family, and they just wanted to bring to the committee's attention that about 20% of the NWC families will probably miss the first day of school, possibly more if the date is August 31st, because most of the military leases don't start until after Labor Day. And as we know, one of our challenges is that Labor Day is so late this year. And then the Tuesday following Labor Day is, of course, primary day. So we lose 2 days for elections this year as well. Yeah, so just voicing that.
Yeah, and if I could add to that, it's just so that particular parent or family member doesn't think that that we totally overlooked that and neglected that. That came up about every discussion when because we looked at multiple calendars, and that came up, and we really tried to work around that. But what kept coming up was that with military families, that you run the risk of them, missing school early if you start before Labor Day, but also there's the possibility of if you go late, then people already get their assignments, and then you miss them on that end as well. And as I mentioned to you, Christine, we're a little bit different, and we've got 4 PD days that we have to slide in there, and then our goal is to try to be out before Juneteenth. So those were all considerations to go, because really nobody wanted to go prior to Labor Day. But as you mentioned, it's just an anomaly this year, and it falls so late in the month, in the month.
I just want to make one comment about this too. I think I noticed in the paper an error where I think the paper had said that the North Kingstown calendar begins on the 1st, which would be this Tuesday. And I don't think that's true.
They have some students beginning on the 31st.
Okay, yeah,
and
their
some on the
posted
1st.
calendar had the first
Yeah.
day on Monday.
The
So
way-
anyway, I just wanted to make sure that
Yeah,
everybody knew
right. Yeah, you're right about
we're
that.
trying to align with them. It's just maybe
Absolutely,
obvious,
yeah.
but.
Yeah, usually what happens is kindergarten and the ninth grade start on that first day, that Monday, and then everybody else comes back on the Tuesday. I guess one of the things that I would like to advocate for with this calendar, because I know it's on everyone's mind, because we're waiting to hear from RIDE about what's going to happen with the snow days this year. We definitely would like to be out before Juneteenth, and this year, Juneteenth, this in 2027, this calendar year that we're looking at, Juneteenth is observed on the 21st, which means that the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday of that week would be our makeup snow days. I know that there are mixed feelings about virtual and online learning, but I also know that we do need to get that approved by RIDE at the beginning of the year in order to, like, we can't call them up, during the blizzard and be like, hey, can we just go virtual? We have to get that formally approved and codified. And there are some districts that can get up to 5 days that they can be allowed to be virtual. Given the fact that we are an island community and a strong windstorm could prevent, our teachers who live outside of our community from getting to work. I would just like to advocate for, once again, trying to do that paperwork and get that ball rolling so that we don't have to ask our families to come back the week before the 1st of July to make up, for inclement weather. So.
David, we talked last time about public comment on this. I just wanted to verify. I know I personally, I think like Christine had mentioned, I heard from one family sort of informally that said, August 31st, we don't want to start August 31st.
Mhm.
But I know that last time we had talked about seeking feedback. I know it was in the Howl. It went out to parents. Had you heard anything back from anybody? Was there any kind of critical mass suggesting?
No, at the time that I sent you guys the supplemental agenda, I hadn't heard anything. Jeanette hadn't heard anything. And I think that's when Christine responded that she'd heard from one person. So what you guys just talked about here, that's really all that we've heard from.
Are you suggesting that you would like to table this until our meeting on the 9th to allow more people to weigh in?
I'm not suggesting that. If the rest of the committee feels ready to vote, I could do that as well. But if David, if you think or anyone else thinks that more public comment is warranted, happy to seek that as well. Really up to you guys.
I'm ready to move forward, but I want you guys to be able to, meet the needs of your constituents.
Mm-hmm.
I'd make a motion to approve the calendar as. Oh,
Okay, thank you, Josh. Do I have a second? Thank you, Lisa.
Can I ask a question? So I missed the last meeting, but just if there is more feedback, like, I hear, it's not great to start before Labor Day, right? Nobody wants to start school before Labor Day. But even if there is a lot of feedback, what are the options with this calendar? Are there major options to shift after Labor Day or do something like I'm sure your team has talked about like all the options.
Yeah, well, like I said, we looked at several options while we were waiting to see what North Kingstown approved.
Yep.
And then obviously once their calendar was approved, then we were able to eliminate those options that didn't align with theirs. And we kind of, so that's really solely what it boiled down to is which one aligned more closely with North Kingstown.
Okay. So like, given all of that, and I'm sure you had lots of discussions with the goals of getting, having the school year completed before Juneteenth, and all the requirements during the school year, there's really not other choices, right? That's kind of my understanding of the calendar.
You're right.
I mean, the only real option that there is any flexibility is with February break. And it's really difficult to be the only district
Right.
of those three that doesn't take the full week,
Yeah.
because then you have parents who just take their kids out of school
Kids.
for vacation anyway.
Yep.
So,
Kids and other
I
schools.
was going to say, because Drew had asked this earlier today in an email about a survey. We did not survey because we only had the one option. But if you remember last year,
Mhm.
we did survey, and but within that survey, we also asked that question about giving up fall break, and that's just not a popular.
no.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. That was all my discussion.
So, okay, so we have a motion on the table that was seconded. All those in favor of adopting the calendar for the 26-27 school year?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? The calendar passes unanimously. And that brings us to item number 11, an adjournment. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Chris. Is there a second? Thank you, Josh. All those in favor? Aye. Our next school committee meeting will be on Thursday, April 9th at 6 p.m. here in the town hall. Thank you, everybody.
Okey dokey.
Okay.